Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help ambitious private practitioners across the globe to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building ninja tips. Visit privatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and our signature marketing e-course. Here are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Hey, Startup Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We are excited and delighted that you are here. If you are brand new to our podcast, we want to say welcome, and we are welcoming you with open arms, and we hope that you find a home here at Startup Nation and that you continue to consume our podcast that we have over 200 now. So we have topics on everything from A to Z. So we really hope that you guys stay and enjoy. And if you are part of our family already, we want to say welcome back. For those of you who are new, that are just joining our Startup Nation family, we have a gift for you. And that is our private practice paperwork course called Paperwork Up to Par. Discover what's putting you at risk. Like it or not, as therapists, we are required to have paperwork. So this is a free course to really assure that you are protected. So you can grab that at privatepracticestartup.com. Head on over to the resources tab, and there you will see it. We hope that you guys joined us last week, and actually we batch our podcasts, so we record them back to back. And honestly, last week's podcast was beautiful, amazing. Kate and I had chills and tears as we got to interview Rachel Smith, licensed marriage and family therapist of Infinite Intimacy. And we have been able to witness Rachel's journey from being a grad student to some trials and tribulations in life, leaving the field, coming back, and actually living into her dream practice. And as I'm sharing this with you guys now, I'm getting chills. So you definitely want to check out that podcast from last week. Today is a very special podcast for Kate and I, more so probably for me. We're going to kind of be flipping the tables. Kate and I are going to be talking. Kate's probably going to be doing more interviewing of me, but this podcast has been a long journey for myself, a long time coming. And today we're going to be talking about what happens when my passion evolves beyond therapy.
I'm so excited to be diving into this topic with you because I know behind the scenes, you and I have been talking about this for a very long time. And Startup Nation is going to be able to hear more about your experience. And it's so interesting because passions do evolve over time. And sometimes when therapists want more or want something different, that's outside of the traditional face-to-face, in-session, helping your clients type of arrangement, they can have some negative emotions about that or be judged or feel guilty or bad or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to you sharing your story with us. And I guess let's just take a step back and have you start with telling us a little bit about your private practice journey and where you started and where you are now.
Cool. So, interestingly enough, I always say, and the longtime listeners probably heard some of these stories before, but, I grew up in community mental health, meaning when I was, I think, 22 or 23, I moved to Florida, and I started at a place called Henderson, and actually they rebranded themselves during the time I was there, and I was there for 13 years. And I went to grad school while I was at Henderson. I started as a case manager, and I had only done therapy like full time for 7 months before I went into management and leadership. And I really love management and leadership, but I continued to do therapy per diem to really get my hours. And it actually took me 6 years to get licensed. And so over this time, I was working on my license. I was really trying to figure out my footing as a manager and leader. And I don't know about you guys, but unless you're working for a corporation, most people do not teach you, companies don't usually teach you how to be a good manager or leader. And a lot of times people get promoted into leadership positions, in my opinion, that should not be there because they don't know how to be leaders. Most people get promoted because they're good workers. So when I first started management and leadership, I was 26 years old. I was pretty young, and I was managing a case management team. And I really didn't know how to trust my team. This was the first time in a management position. And sometimes I'd be at the office till 10, 11 at night. preparing for an audit because I was afraid, like, oh my gosh, if we do bad on this audit, it's going to look bad on me. So, I went on my own personal journey, professional journey as well, and began to understand what it takes to build teams and be a good leader and communicate and trust. And so over time, from 26 until I left Henderson, I was running numerous teams and I had been promoted numerous times, and I had different experiences of running group homes. I was training, I was doing, training for our wraparound teams, and I had done different things. So I would love to go into a program and clean it up and systemize it. And for anyone who is listening to this podcast and knows me, I like systems, as I always say, is my business porn. I love systems. It makes me so excited to watch things run effectively and efficiently. It makes me clap and I get really happy. So that was one of the things that I did. And I also learned a little bit about marketing. And it came to this point that in the journey of being community mental health, at first I thought I was going to kind of live and die in community health and community mental health. And I think that's kind of sad. But I was so afraid to go into business. And if you guys have heard Kate's story a little bit, she had come from a family of entrepreneurs. Well, I didn't necessarily come from a family of entrepreneurs, but my dad and my grandfather had a construction business. But no one really ever talked business in our family. So I didn't really know much at all about business except what I learned in leadership. So I was really afraid, but private practice seemed like the next best step. And my spouse, as well as my team at the time, kind of were like pushing me out, saying like, you're too good to be here. Like, what are you doing? You should go into private practice. And I think I started to kind of get excited about it. Maybe it was like, wow, if I made $25 and, community mental health, like $45, that was a huge raise. So I began the journey of private practice, and I did, like many of our Startup Nation family members do, is I did full-time work, part-time private practice, not knowing much about business. But I had some successes, right? I probably saw 8 to 10 clients part-time, working the weekends, working the afternoons and the evenings. And it finally got to a point where I decided to leave, and I could leave. I didn't run the numbers. I didn't have a business plan. I kind of took a leap of faith at the end of November, right during the holidays. And it was really scary. I was making less money than I did at community mental health. I couldn't breathe. I was filled with anxiety. Probably going through a lot of the same emotions that most people do, wondering if I'm regretting the decision. I should go back. Cobra insurance was $500 a month. That was so expensive. So that's how I started that journey into private practice. And, Kate and I, of course, share a lot about our journey, and not really knowing much about business, trying to understand everything that we could to really build both of our successful 6-figure private practices in a short amount of time. And part of my journey is I actually went back to work part-time. I was a clinical director of a substance abuse facility while I continued to build a private practice, then hit 6 figures, and then fully launched in a private practice and stayed there up until now. And that's what we're talking about.
What kept your passion alive when you were with clients in private practice, and you did that for many, many years?
Good question. I've shared also too that I worked with families, right? Children and families. That was the division that I worked in community mental health. And the natural progression was to continue to work with children and families, teens. And then there was a point in time that I realized, like, I'm maybe getting too old. I'm not as hip as I used to be. I don't know the slang. I can't connect with these teens anymore. I definitely couldn't connect with young kids because I'm just a metaphorical and abstract thinker, and kids are concrete. And I started to see more couples. And, our program as a marriage and family therapist is, we assume like, hey, okay, well, I'm a marriage and family therapist. I should be able to work with couples. I started seeing more couples, and I watched them argue on my couch, and I didn't know what to do. And so that led me into a journey of actually doing 9 different trainings. So I've done all of the Gottman trainings, 2 EFT trainings in less than 2 years, because I really wanted to learn how to help couples. And on that journey, what helped keep my passion alive is obviously being a person in a relationship and being married. I loved watching couples transform. And the beauty is the reciprocity, I do believe, that there is in the relationship that we have with our clients. Is I remember times sitting across from my clients, watching them on the couch going, oh my God, that's what I sound like. Oh my God, that's awful. Oh my God, I need to go home and apologize right now. Right. So there was this beautiful interplay of watching couples transform, but at the same time being transformed myself. So that definitely kept my passion alive. And I mean, in working with couples is you get to have a better relationship yourself. So what's not to be passionate about with that?
When did things start to shift a little bit for you where you started going, maybe there's a different path for me, or maybe there's something more that I'm longing for?
And I think that's it, right? It's like we have like lofty goals that seem really lofty to us, right? Like hitting 6 figures in private practice seems really big. And, we both had done that, and it was like, okay. And sometimes when we get to a goal, and I was definitely guilty of this, is we don't really celebrate it, right? It's just like, well, okay, that's nice. What's next?
Now what?
Yeah. Now what? So that had happened, and you and I had started going into business together in 2014, and it was interesting watching. We both kind of also stepped out and watched what we had done, and we fell into some bad behaviors of, doing the business, having the business run us. We went way too wide. And as we narrowed down what we're doing with a private practice startup and really having a niche and a focus, I feel like I started to begin to just love business a lot. And when you're in private practice, you're serving your clients. So there's working in the business a lot. And, for many years now, I've struggled with the idea of being passionate about business, right? Because the truth is I love business. I love the systems. I love the team. I love the leadership. I love watching it grow. I love the creativity. But what you talked about in the beginning, Kate, is I think I've struggled with a few things. Like I call it therapist shame, right? Like I can't imagine a medical doctor going to school for a gazillion years and then coming home and saying to their spouse or family, like, I'm quitting. We go to school for a long time. We have a lot invested. We do the 2 years for our license, and some states even more. So there's so much that we've invested, and it's like feeling that I'm going to let people down. And now that we've had the private practice startup and teaching therapists how to build their businesses as therapists, there was like, oh gosh, well, what will Startup Nation think? How will they feel? And worried about that. And, having a decent income, it's hard to walk away from having a decent income. So those were some of the things that kind of like the tipping point of like realizing, and it's really been a 4-year journey for me of kind of battling back and forth. The private practice has definitely served the love of coaching others and business building. But I'm just really inspired by watching businesses go. And a lot of times in my personal conversations, I talk about like seeing how far the rabbit hole will go, kind of like little Alice in Wonderland, like what can we create? And you people don't get to experience this, but behind the scenes, Kate and I love looking at the data and reports and saying, let's try this experiment, or let's do that as experiments. And the great thing about Kate is she's willing to try it. And, if it doesn't work, we cut it as a loss. And if it works, we just keep doing it. And that is really exciting for me.
It's so interesting because obviously I've been on this journey with you, and I know the ins and outs and the ups and the downs and the struggles and all of that. And Startup Nation is really getting a chance to hear what that journey has been like for you. And it's been so fun to see your love for business and systems and marketing and all of that grow. It has inspired this passion and this spark in you, and just has opened up this whole new world that you have completely fallen in love with. And you've been hanging on to seeing clients for quite some time and kind of straddling both. And I know there's a lot of mixed emotions that have been a part of this for you. What has helped you navigate that as you've straddled both? And what's gotten you to the point of finally saying, you know what, I'm ready to make this transition?
I like that question. So before I answer that, let's just take a quick break, because as we get into this conversation, I don't want to forget that we do want to thank our sponsor.
Okay, guys, it's sponsor time. You know what? Instead of reading a script about Gusto's payroll and benefits, we wanted to tell you what small business owners say, the people who use Gusto every day. Here's what one small business owner says. With Gusto, I think of payroll as a 30-second job. The website is so friendly and a joy to use. Friendly payroll? You don't hear that every day. And how about Amy from Utah? Amy says, I love Gusto so much. It's so painless. It's like going to the spa, and we have great options and rates, even though we're a super small team. Like going to the spa? Wow. And here's what Mneet says about Gusto's support team. Whenever something comes up, I reach out and literally 24 hours later, they tell us what to do or assure us that we've already handled it. Smart technology and friendly humans, that's super cool. Honestly, the list goes on, and right now our listeners get 3 months free when they go to gusto.com/PPS. Yep, 3 months of payroll, benefits, administration, and more, totally free. Again, that's gusto.com/PPS.
There are so many ways to keep your practice organized, but Therapy Notes is by far the best. Their easy to use, secure platform lets you not only do billing, scheduling, and progress notes, but also create a client portal to share documents and request signatures. Plus, they offer amazing unlimited phone support. So when you have a question, they're there so you can get help fast. Get started with Therapy Notes today, trusted by over 60,000 professionals. Go to therapynotes.com and enter promo code PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, and you'll get 2 months for free. Also, you can listen to episode 54, where we interviewed Brad Pliner and took an in-depth view into their EHR.
So that was kind of a two-part question. So the first one was the second part was what had me finally launch? And the first part was what, Kate?
The first part was tell us what it was like straddling, still creating that space for seeing clients while being fully immersed in this, that desire to be fully immersed in the business world in following your pure passion for love of business and systems and marketing and all of that.
Well, I think there comes a time and, there's a decision that we all have to make in the sense of we only have 24 hours in a day. Time is a non-renewable resource. Money is, but time is not. And, one of the things that you and I really talk about is focus. And, when we're seeing clients, and I'm sure everyone listening on this podcast can totally relate is, there's this beautiful gift for me in seeing clients is no matter what I was going through, when I'm with my clients, I'm fully present to them and all my worries and problems are gone. And so that's always been a beautiful gift. And I think sometimes the difficulty is when we're with clients, that's all that we're doing. It's not a desk job where we can call the doctor and schedule an appointment or run to the grocery store or do this while we're seeing the hours of clients. And sometimes between the private practice startup, because we podcast and we webinar, and again, that's where we're just solely focused. But there's this time of seeing clients that's all you can do. And so it was this constant back and forth of not being able to renew time and getting to a place of having to make a decision. But what finally pushed me over the edge was this pandemic. I don't think I really talk about this much, but I have had chronic back problems since I was 19 years old. Part of the difficulty of continuing to do therapy is sitting in the chair hour after hour after hour. But, I've adjusted, made it work. But coming into the pandemic and doing completely online therapy, completely online private practice startup, I started to develop other spine issues. I actually have now known that I have degenerative disc disease, not only my low back, but also my neck. And I have a bulging disc, and I'm actually under treatment right now today. I go for another treatment, but being on the computer exacerbated it so bad that it was almost like a pinched nerve. And the pain, I just said to I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do this. I was not going to be able to pretend or fight through the pain. And Kate, obviously, you get to witness most of it. I mean, there's been times that I can even be on the computer, times I have to stand up. I wear an ice pack sometimes when we're not recording video. I have to move around. It's just been really debilitating, not only physically, but I realized how much it has debilitated me emotionally. And that's, my spirit's been dampened. So that was a thing that prompted, I have to make a change because we don't know still how long the pandemic's going to last. Although I'm super grateful for virtual and video, I had to make a change, and this was the right time.
It's so interesting because on a very deep level, your body is speaking to you in a way of screaming at you, saying, honor what your passion is, honor yourself. Right? Because the pain is coming with this major message of a change that you needed to make in your life that you'd been dancing around, straddling and having this pull towards wanting to pursue more of your passion. but yet not wanting to abandon your, clients and your trade and the private practice startup community and what they might think if you were to pursue your passion. And first and foremost, I think it's important for everybody to know that you're not leaving the private practice startup.
No.
Startup Nation, Katie's not going anywhere. Don't worry.
No, we're not going anywhere.
Evolving, and she'll share with you a little bit more about what that is. But this pain has really come with this message. What is it like for you to look at it from that perspective, Katie?
Yeah. And I mean, I can't agree more. And yes, like sometimes, like when we can't make a decision, something happens in our life that calls us to make that decision. Right. So, I look at that experience and opportunity as with gratitude, right? This is something that, like you said, exactly. I've been struggling with this and battling with it behind the scenes for 4 years. Of all of the things, the guilt, the shame, leaving clients, what are people going to think? And then finally just honoring, myself and, diving into a new business.
Mm-hmm. Share with us what you would like to about this new business venture that you're going to be embarking on.
So one of the things that I'm grateful to you for is the private practice startup. And having the private practice startup is we have not just learned about marketing, but we have advanced our skills around marketing. And not only do I love the leadership and systems, but we both love marketing. And I see most businesses struggle with that. And my spouse has been in real estate now for 7 years. I have done investing for the last 4 years, but not gotten into real estate. So what I'm doing is exactly what Kate and I talk about, is utilizing my skills. So that's the marketing and systems, legal contracts. And I'm going to be coming into the back end of the business and really working the real estate business from the back end while she is doing what she loves, showing houses, negotiating the crap out of things, and doing what she loves. So again, this is like a cool partnership, and it's also an opportunity. I think it comes as a double-edged sword when working with your spouse, right? Like it's cool and fun, but we're a couple, so we'll see how that goes, right? So, and it's cool to think about something that's like bringing us together and something that we can work on together. So that is what we're doing in a real estate adventure and utilizing everything that we teach in this new business.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're finally to the place of leaping into that and that you have officially stopped seeing clients. And I'm curious, what was it like the last day that you saw your last client? I saw a post on Facebook about it. And so I'm wondering, what was that experience like for you?
As you say that, now I'm getting emotional. I had a client that I had worked with like on and off for 6 years, and she's amazing and I love her. It's sad, like saying goodbye. And I don't say goodbye. I always say, I'll see you soon, whatever that means. But yeah, I mean, you're in these people's life and you're intimately in these people's lives, and they share with you, and you've seen them go through their own trials and tribulations and have successes. And you've been part of like their journey, of their own family journey, what's going on in their life. So it's sad, but it's also exciting, right? And the post that I had shared was, I felt like it was my last day of high school. You're leaving your friends behind, but you're excited for this new journey, and you're excited to meet new people and new friends and have long-term relationships. And going to college, you're going to learn all this new stuff. So that's really exciting. One of the things that I absolutely loved about school and college was every semester we get new classes and new teachers and sit in a new place and learn new things. So I'm really excited about that part, but definitely sad saying goodbye to, my clients, but obviously I had been preparing them for over 2 months of this next step and really taking care of them while we continue to do our work. So, interestingly enough, when you're a therapist locally, right, like you sometimes run into your clients. So who knows, maybe I'll see them and get to chat with them briefly for a moment if they want to do that, and just kind of see how they are.
I know that you love helping people. And I know that's a big part of your passion, of being able to serve and being able to help people. And that is something that you're still very much connected to through the private practice startup, and being able to work with therapists, helping them to fill their practice with the clients that they love working with and live their dream lifestyles. So you still have that capacity of really making an impact in the community. And in the therapist's lives, helping them impact the clients that they're serving. So there's still that connection to making a difference. And at the same time, you get to pursue your passion of really being able to help a business grow from the back end of the sales and the marketing and the systems and all of that. And I'm so excited to see where that goes for you and how your evolution continues to impact the work that you do serving Startup Nation and the community here. So you'll have to keep us posted on that journey. And I know it's been an emotional decision for you. And there was a podcast that you had done and a video as well with Ernesto Segismundo, our friend over at filmit.com, and the Not So Typical Psychotherapist Summit. And I definitely want to put the link for that in the resources section here so that people can listen to that as well, because that was more diving into the emotion behind almost the stigma of what people think about you if and when you decide to no longer be a therapist in the same capacity. So ultimately, Katie, what would you say that you want our listeners to take away from sharing your story today about what happens when your passion evolves beyond therapy?
I think this podcast is like a two-part, right? There's like one selfish for me in the sense of, Startup Nation, I feel like I've been keeping the struggle from you and I wanted to share authentically. Like I want to be in alignment and share authentically where I'm at. And the other part of that is I really want to inspire some inspiration and permission. If you're in a place that I've been in, and if you're struggling with maybe not wanting to see clients anymore, or maybe your life's journey has changed, or maybe you want to, be a full-time parent, or maybe you want to go into the online world and do e-courses, it's all available to you. And you can hesitate and wait, and that's okay. And that's just part of the journey. Or you can take the leap. And I think at some point, we all have to decide to leap, whether the circumstance calls us to make a move or we decide. And I am excited. I am excited about what I'm going to be doing in real estate and learning all of that, because I'm just going to transfer it over to you guys and everything that we're learning. So really this story is about authenticity, which we haven't rang the cowbell in a long time, inspiration, permission, and hope.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. And Startup Nation, I know we will be keeping you posted, so you'll be able to see how Katie evolves, and you'll be able to continue to reap the benefits of everything that she's learning and continuing to learn about business, sales, and marketing, and all that good stuff that we're so passionate about. So thanks, Katie, for being on and sharing this with us today. Startup Nation, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And if so, we would love to have you subscribe, rate, and review the show. You can look at the top of our show notes page. You'll see the option for you to subscribe to the show. And if you love it, share it with your friends and fellow colleagues. If there's an episode that you haven't heard yet, we would love to be able to provide that, because we're always trying to provide content that's going to be most useful for you along your journey. Let's take a moment for our Startup Nation superhero shout out for today. This is from Borum's Song. And they say, I just started to listen to the podcast and it has inspired me so much, especially about the values of collaboration, an experienced brand, and the common ground between a skillful therapist and a successful business owner. I've never thought about those connections and have had strong false beliefs on having a poor business ability. Borum Song, thank you for your feedback. We so appreciate you, and we're glad to hear that the podcast is inspiring you along your journey, helping you to get a clearer brand and have a business that really works for you. So Startup Nation, we appreciate you being here. And in the meantime, stay inspired. We'll see you on the next episode.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.